Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you here today. It's always exciting to meet the Swedish car industry, not least since I have background in the industry myself. And first, I would like to say a few words about the war in Ukraine. Putin and Russia's war in Ukraine is immoral, illegal, and irresponsible. And Sweden stands in solidarity with the Ukrainian people, and the Swedish government now work intensively with three priorities: support Ukraine, impose hard sanctions on Russia, and strengthen Sweden. And if it was not already clear before the war, now it is clear to everyone. Europe must make a green transition and become independent from gas and oil from Russia. And we need to transition our societies for the climate, but we also need to do it for our own safety. Not the least, we need to make a green transition to make sure the jobs of the future end up here in Sweden. And the Swedish car industry and Mobility Sweden has understood this for a long time. And that is why Mobility Sweden and Fossil-Free Sweden has committed to a roadmap to a fossil-free car park by 2045. And it makes me proud, not only as Minister of Infrastructure, but as a car enthusiast and as a Swede, to see how the car industry is taking the lead in this transition. But it also comes with a great responsibility for us as politicians to enable the green transition. Right now, we are seeing a green industrial revolution throughout all of Sweden. And this revolution also comes with high demands on the Swedish infrastructure. Industries have to transport their products along the railway, on roads and by ship. And new employees have to get their jobs, and societies, which were once shrinking, are now growing rapidly. And I think it says a lot about our time that cities and towns earlier wanted new infrastructure to compensate for the closure of industries. Now they need infrastructure to enable new industrials. So not at least, this shows that the government focus on new industrialization in Sweden has been very successful. And the green industrial revolution is also a big reason why the government is now presenting a historic investment in Swedish infrastructure by almost 900 billion. And the investment plan from Trafikverket is about investing in railways and new high-speed trains. And it's about historic investments in road maintenance and the first permanent electric road. And it is about shipping and the extension of the Luleå harbor as a hub in the new green industrial center in the north of Sweden, to name just a few examples. But new roads and railways will not be enough to reach our ambitious climate goals. We must also speed up the pace of electrification. So here, we as politicians have an important role to play to enable a fast transition. For me, as a social democrat, it's also crucial to make sure that everyone in Sweden can be a part of the transition. The green transition also needs to be a just transition. And this will be done partly by making it possible to be a part of the transition in all parts of the country and investing in recharging points in all of Sweden. And that is why we have initiated Klimatklivet and granted support for more than 65,000 recharging points in apartment buildings and for companies. And that is why we have introduced the load at home support to make sure that everyone that wants can put up charging box at their own driveway. And that is why we invest in rapid chargers along the roads in all Sweden, not at least in the rural parts of this country. So by massive investments and new EU regulations, we will make sure that the distance between chargers is never too great along the roads of Europe. No one should have to experience the feeling of range anxiety. And even within heavy roads transport, the transition has taken big steps. In the high-level task force for electrification that I lead, we are gathering representatives from the car industry, the battery companies and the electric companies to speed up the transitions also for electric trucks. And right now, Pledges from more than 260 actors all over Sweden has been taken. Promises to work harder to electrify regional road transport by track. Recently, the government could present a support package at over 550 million for recharging points for heavy trucks. And all around Sweden, the transition to an electric transport system is going faster than even before. Last month, 56% of new sold cars were rechargeable. And for the first time ever, we are now seeing more electric cars than cars running on petrol being sold in Sweden. That is a historic breaking point. And it's evident when I travel all over the country that the industry is taking the driving seat in the transition. The last few weeks, I have had the possibility to drive new electric cars from Volvo and Polestar, and I have met transport companies that is in the middle of the transition to electric trucks from Scania and Volvo. And what strikes me is that there is a strong will to be a part of the green transition in all of Sweden. We are right now living under extraordinary times with a terrible war taking place in Europe, and despite this, we can't afford to lose time. Rather, the war has shown that we need to speed up the transition to a fossil-free society and become independent of oil from Russia. I'm impressed by the work of the Swedish car industry that is leading the transition to a fossil-free and electric society and creating new good jobs in Sweden. And by continuing to work together, we will make sure that Sweden leads this transition. That is how we can save the climate, make sure that the jobs of the future end up in Sweden, and show the whole world that the transition is not only possible, it's filled with possibilities. And as a small export-oriented industrial country, we can change the world by being a permanent climate exhibition. I look forward to continuing working with you with this important task. Thank you for listening.